Every week when I have to go share these, it's like my face being like in the pictures, and I'm like, that's embarrassing. And you think if you change the cover, it should change the whole thing, but it doesn't.
You would think, what up, Beantown? What's good? What's good?
Hello.
Kevin Cormier, good afternoon. Good evening.
Landon, 90s basketball cards.
It's basically a who's who right now.
Absolutely.
Trees, very
What's
handsome,
up?
very handsome Michigander.
Michigan family out here.
Very handsome Michigander.
Representing.
¿Qué pasa, primo? ¿Cómo estás?
Let's go.
504.
Manny.
That's nice. That's good people.
The other half of the thick boys.
Man, this is
a who's of the hobby tonight.
113 people in the chat. 30 seconds in. This is incredible.
That's for like when we upload this to YouTube and the podcast where it sounds like it's awesome.
It is more legitimate and authentic than what it really is. Definitely authentic, but maybe hype it up a little bit.
Yeah, tonight's gonna be a fun night. It's gonna be it's gonna be more, I think, of like a chat than like a hobby education class, but it's still gonna be a good time.
Hey, I don't blame you. I'm here for Courtney as well, and that's all good. Major breaks. What's going on? Yeah, man, it's gonna be talking about getting your significant other. Shay. What's good? Probably in Europe somewhere, buying some card that nobody else has access to, and then eating pizza
And then taking it to Paris.
Yep.
To go on vacation. How romantic.
That is.
So romantic.
Shay does it right.
There's lots of people I don't want to go on vacation with. My card collection is definitely one of them.
If I was without child Shay, I would do the same thing. I would put my superfractor in my backpack. I would tell a little hobby, and then get to Europe. What's up, Detroit Tackett? Chris. Good afternoon. Good evening.
So I don't know if you guys are going to join together or individually, whatever you want to do. And then we'll get started.
Damn, Courtney will rip blasters on her way home from like Walmart or Target grocery shopping.
I may or may not have had a little too much to drink the other night and overpaid for a box of wax by about $100. Because I wanted it.
All right, looks like we got them ready to get in.
All right. So before I have our guests join, I just wanted to say welcome to Hobby Night School every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on Instagram Live. We do this. It's our way of sort of giving back to the hobby, and we don't know everything. I don't think anybody knows everything, and we wanted to kind of create a space where you could learn and do so in sort of a fun way where it's like lighthearted, and you don't have to feel that pressure to ask all the right questions or say the right things. So that's sort of what the onus of this is just like, being authentic in yourself. So with no further ado, we are going to add two guests this evening. Chris and Christina from Card Ladder. Sorry, I instantly become...
Now you try multitasking.
I'm not good at it.
Let's see how this works.
Yeah. If
it's whack, it's all Courtney's fault.
Word. No, for sure. It's definitely not. Oh, there's Chris. Oh, there they are. Hello.
Hey.
I love it.
Hi.
How are y'all doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Good.
Hey, I'm just gonna try to get a couple words in before I get nudged under the table and told to shut the hell up and let the ladies talk. But one thing that we've noticed when we go through this, we get a lot of messages like, how do you get like my girlfriend, or how do I get my loved one or whomever to participate in this thing with me? And people are always like, you guys are so lucky, but we're not the only ones. There's actually several couples within this hobby that participate in different manners. And so we thought it would just be a fun conversation, because I'm pretty sure, I'm going to make an assumption, you guys eat, live, and breathe this hobby. And so I'm excited to hear like how you guys interact and all that good stuff that comes with it.
Well, let me give a shout out to probably the most prominent power couple in the hobby, more than Christine and myself, even more than the two of you. And that's Tim and Corey from Slab Strong and Show Your Slabs. So that is the real power couple of this hobby.
I'm sure they're going to love to hear that. Yeah.
Hey, there's no argument here.
Oh, yeah.
No argument here.
So you guys, you guys have been collecting for a while, obviously. How long have you each been collecting?
Go ahead, Christina.
Okay, well, I feel like you should tell your story first, since your story turns into my story.
Okay, well, I collected as a kid, and then I found my old collection in 2016, and Christina and I were together in 2016, obviously, and we started down the rabbit hole of cards, and here we are today, pretty much.
Yeah. So that's how he tells stories. Now,
A man of many words.
Yeah, so which is funny because he's very, like, anyone who watches him or hears him on Clubhouse or something, like, he's always talking. So it's always funny, like, when it's like stories about us or something, he's always like, so we met and now we're here. We graduate university 2016, and we like took a little like 2-week hiatus. And we were at his parents' house, and he found his collection because his mom was like, you need to clean out your room. So he found his collection in his closet, and he then proceeded to spend the next 2 weeks, like, playing with his cards, like laying them all out, putting them in different piles, organizing them, sorting them, finding comps on eBay, and looking at cards that he always wanted as a kid. And I had just, like, obviously, we both just graduated. So I was, like, decompressing and, like, I was, like, finally, like, I don't have a paper due or a test coming up. Like, I'm reading books for pleasure instead of, like, pain. And so then, like, one of the days he was just like, do you want to go on an adventure and go find cards and rip packs? And I was like, sure. I haven't been out of the house in, like, 10 days. Like, sure, like, let's leave. So we hit up Walmart, and anyone who was in the hobby in 2016 knows, like, Walmart used to have product, like an abundance of product. So we found 2015-16 in 2016 in June, which is, like, unheard of, right? Don Russ basketball, the orange box with Kevin Durant on the cover, and, like, we bought, like, a couple blasters, and it was just so much fun for me. Like, I'd never collected cards, played sports as a kid, but didn't really watch live sports, so it was really fun. And then
why don't you talk about what type of soccer player you used to be as a kid?
Why you gotta do this to me, sir?
What
Just
was
why?
This is why we wanted to bring a couple on, because this is exactly.
But, you know,
How'd you play?
Chris said, like, maybe one sentence, and I got to be honest, I started falling in love with him, because basically what he said was, brought you over to mom's house, laid his PC on the table. You thought it was exciting. You wanted to see more about the PC, and now here you are 5-6 years later.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah.
That's how Jeremy won me over. He just
Yeah, I
went
mean, you
down
got to
his
pull out
PC.
your PC. If she likes it, cool. If not, on to the next one.
That's right. You
I
can't have
mean-
shame in your PC either. You just got what you got.
You have to play with it a little.
Yeah. To start off.
That, you know, it was similar to how we got, like, back, like, on social media, because we've collected since we were kids, but we both collected. But when, I don't know, I did stuff for, like, social media with my work, so I'm like, let's show some of our cards. You know, we don't know a lot of people who collect around us. Turns out there's a ton of people that collect in Michigan, but we had just moved here and I didn't know that. And so we started posting them online, and I went through my storage unit or my storage stuff, and I found my PC that had been, like, moved from house to house to house from when I was a kid. I had, like, a Larry Bird rookie. It was crazy. I'm like, I didn't even remember that I had this, let alone that I moved it to 70.
I couldn't have picked through her shit, graded it, and sold it as fast as possible. I'm like, this is great.
He's such a dick.
This is
It's
great,
not.
Courtney's dad. Thank you for buying her these cards.
That's
I'm gonna put a little
exactly
coin
what
in
I
the
did,
bank.
too. I went through the old stuff. I had fun, and then I sold it all.
You do, you know, because it wasn't like I wasn't really into it anymore. I wanted some new, different stuff. So what do you PC, Chris? I mean, like, I feel like everyone knows this, but I'm still gonna ask. What do you PC, Chris,
Yep.
and what do you PC, Christina?
Well, and you know, the thing is when she starts buying and selling, but selling too, like that almost hooks you into the hobby more. You know, because that can be a lot of fun, and it improves you that there's value in these cards. So Christina and I PC pretty much everything together. Like Michael Jordan, Luca, we definitely PC together. And then like we kind of have our own little sub PCs. You know, she has Maxi Kleber, who like she is so close to completing the 2020 Prism Rainbow for Kleber.
Every time we see it, we're sending pictures to her.
Well, yeah, she only needs
I know,
one
I
more
love
card.
it.
She has all the one-on-ones. I've never seen a 2020 Prism Basketball Rainbow. So, like, when that does get completed, that's pretty crazy to do that. Of course, you know, it is Kleber, probably the cheapest player in the set.
That's
But
not true. Okay, there are
That's
cheaper
still-
players. Thanks.
that's still quite an accomplishment. And then, you know, on my I kind of like branch off into, you know, I've got some LeBron, I've got some Le'Veon Bell, I've got some Christian McCaffrey, Nikola Jokic. So like we kind of have like the sub PCs, but the main PCs are definitely Luca and MJ.
Yeah,
Wait,
I want to.
wait, hold on, Jeremy. Did you just claim Jokic by yourself?
Yeah.
No, just not. No, that's a
Okay.
shared
Here's
PC,
all right.
but
Do you have many save searches on eBay? Are any of them for Jokic?
I don't have any save searches on eBay. I type
I
my
think
shit out
it's-
by myself.
It's so
Let 'em fight.
romantic
Just
that you
throw
guys
gas
know
on the
each
fire. Don't try to
other's
break it up. Let's make them fight
eBay
more.
saves. Like, you know each other's eBay saves. Like, who do you have? Jeremy and I share an eBay, so I know what he's looking at, and I'm like, we're not buying that. And then he's like, and then I'm looking at something, he's like, we're not buying that. And then I buy what I want, and then he's like, you bought it, didn't you? I'm like, I did.
And you want to know how much of a piece of shit she is? I saw the Maxi Kleber. I shot you guys a message, and I was like, hey, do you want me to scoop this up or whatever? And Courtney's like, just so you know, I took credit for that. And I'm like, whatever. It just speaks to your character, you dirtbag.
Yep, there you go. I know
I'm
what
not
you're
gonna
looking for.
lie. Every time I talk to Reckless Cards, I'm always like, for 5 seconds, am I talking to Jeremy? And then I'm like, nah, this is Courtney.
This is grammatically correct and has proper punctuation. This must be Courtney.
Oh,
Yo,
my
is
goodness.
this the first ever Instagram live of two collecting couples? I think it must be.
I think we might be like making a Instagram first right now for sure. It's like, where's the Guinness book? Let's get him on.
I'm sure there's some dude with his wife on the couch right now, like, see. He's like,
Making it
Well, we
hard to
talk
be
about
fun.
that a lot, you know, and it's part of the fun of having a shared interest. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be cards, but taking interest in something that like your partner likes makes your relationship better. I think, in my opinion, it does for us. So Jeremy and I were talking about, and you guys were sort of talking about saved eBay searches and whatever. So we talked a little bit about like your guys' collecting styles. It sounds like, you know, Christina, you go more for like sets and building the rainbow, and Chris, are you like I like building sets. I like certain things will like spark something in me, and then I have to like go after that, and I can't stop until I'm finished. Where Jeremy's more, and then I want to keep it forever. Where Jeremy's more of like a hunter. He like sees something, he's like, I want that card for my player, and then he does everything in his ability to go get it. But then once he has it, he's like, well, I've got this, I'll enjoy it for a while, and then he'll sell it and find something else that he wants. And we have a few cards, he has a few cards that he's kept, but I am the one who has like all of my cards still that I keep and everything. So why don't you guys talk about do you guys collect similarly, or do you have your own kind of style?
You know, I think we're definitely like, we overlap at times, but we definitely have our own styles, like you're talking about. So when I started in the hobby, I was ripping so much of 2015-16 Donruss basketball that I put together the master set. Like,
Wow.
I have a master set of Donruss. Like, of course, like I don't have every parallel die cut or anything like that, but like I have like the base master set, and that's like I think that's like what kicked me off. But then I started slowly, like when we started collecting Luca especially, I really wanted like not every card he's in, but some of the better cards that he has. So we started chasing those, and that's like really like Chris, like he was like the one who was like pushing to chase those. And I like put together the Pink Cracked Ice 2018 set So yeah, like I have a set thing, I guess. I'm just realizing. And then
Wait, can we talk about the pink eye set for a second? So
Yeah, you
Christina
wanna
was
talk about that?
putting the pink eye set together one card at a time, going to Burbank Sports Cards, going through their warehouse, picking out a card to complete the set. And then I just waited, and she got close to being done. And then I just
4
saw
cards left.
she had 4 to go, I guess. And I just went on eBay and I just bought the whole set.
Oh my god, that is something Jeremy would do,
And then I
Yeah.
and then I completed the set before Christina did.
or whoever you bought it from did.
That's true. So
Oh man,
Yeah, I would
And
totally
then-
do that. I'm that kind of asshole.
that's like such a Jeremy thing.
One could argue that Chris wanted it more. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? He didn't have time to dick around and wait. We have to get this done now.
that's
Like
what
some
I'm
people
saying.
like the hunt though. Like that's
Yeah.
I'm like that too. Like I want to go find the pieces, the specific, maybe not like the pink cracked ice sets, but like each individual piece that I want, and like
Mhm.
that's more like I all of a sudden have gotten into like, and I feel like I've talked about this in everything that we've talked about, but like the Stranger Things. So now I'm like, I want each character, I want like a specific card of each one, and not necessarily the same one for each person. So if someone just gave me the whole complete set, I'd be like, this is cool, but this isn't what I'm looking for. So
It's like cheating. It's like
It
you
is.
didn't work for it at all. Like you literally let someone else do all the work and you just paid them and like then took all the credit. Like it doesn't work like that. But I just
People
wanna
only
point
remember
out-
results, Christina. They only remember the results.
I just want to point out, like, I was, like, the reason I was starting the pink cracked ice set was because we were ripping so many mega boxes from Walmart after a 3-week long road trip where we went from LA to Chicago to Connecticut, back to Chicago, back to LA. And we stopped at, like, every Walmart we could find. So I had, like, almost put together the entire set, like, just by ripping. And then I would go in and I would talk to Ryan of Burbank Sports Cards, and I'd be like, okay, I have this red wave, and I have this like blue cracked ice, and I have this one. Like, I'll trade you for like these pink cracked ices that you have. So like, I don't think I ever paid for a pink cracked ice. I'm pretty sure it was all like trades and ripping. So
That's
ripping
awesome.
is totally like you paid for it. But like, yeah. So and then he just comes in and just buys the whole thing.
That's the difference, and it's like the patience, the diligence, and all of that, and then versus like the instant gratification. But that's the nice thing, is you have the ability in this space to do both. You can be the person that wants to slowly build your own set and do the work, and you can be the person who's like, you know what, I'm just gonna go buy it. And now, once you build the set, like if you're like Jeremy, he'll build the whole set, and we'll do it piece by piece and hunt it out and everything. Especially we've built some like 90s sets that you can't. It's really hard to go find like the whole set somewhere. And then he'll build it, and we'll do all this work to get it. And I'm like, oh, we finally finished it. We have the whole set. Let's display it. And he's like, no, let's sell it, and we'll build this set now. And I'm like, no.
I have a question for you, Christina. You're done
Yeah.
with school. You're chilling. You're overwhelmed. You're taken aback. You lose your breath at Chris's PC. You're hanging out at Mama Haj's house. You're playing with cards. You're going to Walmart. You're ripping wax. What was it about that experience that made you want to stay, or that grabbed your attention, that you wanted to dive in further and better understand how you could participate in Chris's PC, and apparently a cult leader by some of the comments here tonight?
Yep, I do moonlight as a cult leader.
Yeah, I'm not wearing the white Nikes and drinking the Kool-Aid quite yet.
No, I would highly recommend not doing so. You know what? It's kind of like what Courtney was saying before. Like, not many people know this, but like some people do. I'm kind of obsessed with Chris. Like, we've been together for like 9 years now, and I just
You're
really
just
enjoy-
playing into the cult thing here, aren't you?
Yeah, I just really enjoy his company. He's a dynamic leader, and he gives purpose to my life. No, I'm kidding.
You just see like the pistol come out of the screen.
He's actually in the room. It doesn't look like it. There's like
Stick to the script, Christina.
Yeah. Chris Hoche is amazing. I am not here against my will. No, like, so I really enjoy doing things with him and hanging out with him, and luckily, like, I'm kind of like always up for an adventure. So when this started, it was just a fun way to pass a couple days or a couple hours. And then what really hooked me though, like Jeremy, like what really got me hooked into the hobby was the first box, like the first hobby box I ever purchased was off of Amazon. Do not recommend, do not buy a hobby box off of Amazon. They will rip you off. But it was a 2015 Donruss, and I pulled Karl Anthony Towns Elite Dominators rookie auto out of 25 the week he was announced Rookie of the Year.
Wow.
And it was like we looked it up in like on like how much it was selling for, and like it was the most expensive card of the product at the time because he had just been announced as Rookie of the Year. And it was just like this like rush of endorphins of like I just won. Like I won at cards, and like I've been chasing that dragon ever since. And you know, that's why I'm a degenerate pack ripper, as you can see behind me. These all have been opened.
Yeah, that experience was actually super important. Like actually getting lucky and hitting a big card, I think was big. Like to keeping Christina's interest and my interest in like opening wax too. So, but I've also taken up nail polish because I really enjoy being around Christina and doing things that she likes to do as well. So if you ever look at my toes, you know, I paint them so that I can take an interest in her stuff too.
That's so romantic.
Isn't it? Like he has like he has like the hobby, and I have nail polish, Courtney.
It's very clear.
Chris, like,
it's really clear that he deeply understands who you are as a person outside of collecting cards.
Yeah.
Hey, my toenails are currently painted, but I've got 3 daughters, and my 3-year-old sucks, and she just needs to get better. I don't like how my big toes looking.
I feel like I'm gonna cry. I have my allergies are driving me crazy, so I'm not like crying. I'm just allergied.
No, the story was. I could see
it
tears.
was so romantic. I'm just tearing up.
Okay. I was gonna say like.
Oh, it's the best story I've heard all day. So do you guys with you guys being so deep in the hobby, are a lot of your friends in the hobby as well? Like, or do you have friends outside of the hobby, and do they think it's like crazy what you guys are up to?
Should I go?
I don't really.
Silence.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We don't have friends.
People generally don't like us, and we don't have friends. So,
Yeah.
but if we had to, we definitely have hobby friends.
Yeah.
And you know, people in the hobby very quickly become bigger than your hobby friends. You know, like you have the hobby in common, but all of a sudden you start BSing about all types of other stuff too. But you know, people outside the hobby, when you work in the hobby and it's something you love to do, like it's hard sometimes to connect with people outside the hobby if they don't have that in common with you. You know, everything I want to tie it back to the hobby in some form or fashion, and if I can't really do that, you know, it's hard sometimes. But it's good to take a break too, I guess. But I don't even know why I'm pretending. We don't really have friends outside of the hobby, do we? No. I don't think so.
No, I talk to 3 people every day, and it's Chris, Josh, and Nick. Like Stiff Arm Wax. Like it's always about like it always initiates pretty much about card ladder or like about sports cards, and then sometimes we'll devolve into something else like about sports or life. But like really like yeah.
Yeah, I think that's valid. I feel like in the last couple of years, specifically, my friendships have switched more and lean into my hobby friends because that's how I spend most of my time and what I'm doing. So they understand. Now, I'm going to ask Christina this specifically. Is it harder? You just said you speak to 3 people every single day, and I'm hurt because you talk to me a lot, and I didn't mean
but it's not every day though, Court. Like you have
Actually, it'll be the last damn time she talks to you. Put her on blast.
No, I'm kidding. I was just teasing you. But it leads to my next point. Yeah. Being that the 3 people that you listed are all men, is it sometimes hard? Because I find it difficult when there aren't a lot of women and women, I feel like women's experience in the hobby or in general is different than men's experience, like just living life. So is it hard, and is it nice now being like involved with more women in the hobby stuff to be like connecting with women that have similar passions than you, and maybe understand some of like the pitfalls of collecting as a woman? Has that been like nice?
Oh, for sure. And thanks, Josh. I know I am. So, like, it's definitely, there are times where they, I'll say something about, I get bros a lot. Like, I get broed a lot. And even after I sign my name, like, people will still continue to bro me. So then I start saying, like, okay, sis, like, okay, chick, like, have a great day, sister. Like, just because it's like, if you're going to use gendered terms after I've corrected you, then I'm going to start using gendered terms back to you. And people, like, men really don't like that, Court. I don't get it.
They don't. I called
yeah.
a lady ma'am or a man. I called him, he was like being disrespectful, and I'm like, calm down, ma'am. And he's like, what? I am clearly a man. I'm like, well, I'm clearly a woman. You've called me man, bro, dude, and brother.
Yeah. So there is like a part of that where like the boys don't understand. Luckily, like I work with really amazing guys who are really supportive and there for me, and like are some of my biggest advocates. And so like I would recommend like any women in the hobby who don't have that support, like just to know there are men out there who are like beyond amazing guys who are true gentlemen and will literally like you'll like someone will say something about them and they'll just be like, okay, and then they like say, and Christina, and they're like, whoa, wait a second. And it's just like it makes it easier, like it really does. But to answer your question about more females in the hobby, yes, like finally I feel like you, I'm sure you know this, like
yes,
in 2016, like when we used to go to card shops, there were never women. Like
nope.
we went to a pack war night at one of our LCSs, like after we got into the hobby, and there was a woman there, and she was like, "Oh, that's so cute! Like you're here to support your husband." And I looked at her and I was like, "No, he's here for me. Like he collects singles. I'm here for the pack war like event. Like he's literally not gonna open stuff." And it like there was kind of a like you're just doing this for him like feel of everything back then. And then the first female I ever met in the hobby was Ty from Bullpen LA. We went into Bullpen LA and she was there. She's one of the partners of the shop, like so she was at her shop, and I was just like, this is amazing. Like this is the first female I've met in person. I've spoken to a couple online, but it was just it opened the door for me. And then recently, like I've been really trying to foster an inclusive atmosphere for women where it's like, we're all busy and we all have our hobby friends, but like I'm here if you ever need anything. And like I'm pretty introverted, which is surprising. Like once you hear me start talking, I never shut up. But like in general, like I don't really reach out to people, strike up conversations. So like I've been challenging myself over the past like 2 years to do that more with other females in the hobby. And I've had some really amazing friendships come out of that, including with you and like Sarah from Mrs. Squirt's Breaks. And like
I love
Angela was in the chat. Like there are amazing females out there, and I think we're all kind of like hesitant to bother each other maybe.
You're right.
And I just would say like bother away. Like it's not actually a bother. So like yeah, like throw a random DM in someone's inbox and be like, hey, this might sound weird, but I just wanted to say hi and introduce myself. Like I'm also a female collector and like a female card collector, not like I collect females. And
you could do both.
you could totally do both. No judgment.
Live and let live, I say.
There you go.
Christina's stable.
Her harem.
Christina, bro, that was really well said. I just want to say.
Christina.
Thanks.
So let me ask you
Girl.
this, Chris. How do you so you, that is your lady. She obviously works her ass off, and we're going to talk about Mint and everything that you guys have built. How do you react, and how do you keep a level head when people are, maybe not as respectful to her as they should, when you know damn well that she could hold her own against any dude, bro, in the hobby?
Yeah, no, she handles herself very well. And she really is the backbone of our business too. Like all the key players in the card layer business are very important, but she is the backbone that holds it all together, and that everything is connected to. So I mean, look, she's as tough as they get, and she's great.
So sweet. I love it. It's hard. It's hard. We have our daughter that's involved in this too, and she is like creepy ass messages from like grown men, because she'll be like in a TikTok, and then they'll go find her information, or like she's got an Instagram and shit, and so they'll get on hers and send her like inappropriate messages. I'm like, she's 15. They're like, well, we follow your parents and you're hot. I'm like, if you follow us and you see him and you're gonna say something to our minor, like, what? It just surprised. Like, for every like million good like guys out there, there's just like the one that just acts like such a jerk and ruins it. But beyond that, because I don't want to spend all night talking about like the trolls
Gross people.
the trolls of social media.
So me and Chris said 7 words. She kicked me under the table, and we're not talking again. So the floor is yours, Court.
So you have friends who collect, individual friends. Do you, like, aside from you guys, do you have any couple friends who are like couples that collect?
Do you count? Like, I mean.
How about Mike and Jesse from Sports Cards Nonsense?
I think she means like married couples, not
Or
like
dating or whatever. Yeah.
You might need to check and see if they're married or not. Mike might be married.
Mike is married to Jesse's cousin.
So they're basically married.
They're
He married
family.
into his family.
They're in-laws, but like they're not married to each other. She's trying to say like, do you like married to each other couples?
Yeah, I don't know. Even yeah, that's tough. I don't think so. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody.
I'm putting you on secret class right now because you're gonna get messages like, we're not friends. What?
yeah. That's what I'm trying to go through the Rolodex in my head of who could is there a secret relationship out there that like isn't public?
Wouldn't that be salacious? A hobby.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, no.
Ooh.
It's not breaking news.
No, I mean, like, there's you guys, there's us. Like, I think there are a couple of people whose wives or spouses are like semi like helpful in the business, but don't really collect themselves, or they're trying to get them to be collectors. I know that Joe and Tara are I know Joe Beantown Hobby is like trying to get his girlfriend into the hobby. So like every time I see them, like she's looking at new cards to like potentially pick up, and I see him yelling at me right there. So yeah, so we're gonna get a lot of shit for this. Thanks, Court.
Sorry. My bad.
No. Yeah.
Suze also raised her hand in the chat as well. I don't know Suze's husband, but she says he and her they collect together too, which is cool.
Yeah,
I love all the comments in here that are talking about their wives and husbands that collect, and I think it's growing. I think it's a demographic that I think is small. Like, it's very small, like couples that collect together, but I think it is something where like the bigger the hobby gets and the more popular it is and the more mainstream it's becoming, I think, and like even maybe not all the women that collect are into sports cards, but there's lots of other now more popular avenues that I see. You were talking about going to the card shows or card shops and never seeing women. I did see women there, but they weren't collecting sports cards. They were into Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic and
pop culture
stuff that I wasn't at that time really into, so we didn't have that connection. But I think as I'm like sort of spreading out into more of like pop culture, I'm meeting even more women that are in the hobby, and I think that's kind of cool too. It's just like a different genre that I wasn't really into.
Yeah, you have to be careful too, Courtney, because once in a while Christine and I will post a card that's in our collection, and then she might post it herself, and I don't know why this is happening to me, but she gets like 3 times as many likes and comments as I do. And so,
I engage. That's why.
So on a certain level, it's like, maybe, oh, this is her hobby, so let me not, come into it, or, so on. Yeah, I could see people being sensitive to stuff like that, but Christine and I are just weird, and we do everything together. Like, she got me addicted to looking up houses on Zillow. Like, I used to just laugh at her because she would just be sitting there looking at like $20 million mansions. And I'd be like, why are you doing this?
Because it's fun. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I do it. Now I do it as well.
Yeah, this is when we're like poor undergrads, Court, and like, like I should be studying, and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, this is my stress release, okay? Like, this is how I calm down, like, after being stressed, and then I can go back and like it's my motivation.
This is why I'm going to school, so someday hopefully I can, afford to live in a neighborhood that has a house like this.
Or a town that has a house like this.
Right? I'm obsessed. You know what that is? That's like years of like HGTV being like super popular in like the early 2000s, and like all of us, like, I want to see what everybody's house looks like because I'm creepy now. I don't know. So that's the thing. Just don't be like
together.
I have friends who have gotten to the point where they like, if there's open houses, they will go to people's open houses.
Our entire neighborhood goes to every open house.
Every open house. They're not buying.
The epitome of keeping up with the Joneses.
They just want to be nosy and look at people. I think like maybe that's a step. Maybe when I'm older, I'll be like weird like that. But right now, I haven't quite crossed that threshold. So like, let's drive around and go look through open houses today.
Chris, what if, like, with Christina being the newer entrant into the hobby and clearly absorbing hobby knowledge and like having a firm understanding of how things work, what have you learned from her? Because I've actually learned a lot from a lot of new entrants, Courtney included, or newer, because they just have a different perspective, or, they look at things slightly different, which is an opportunity for growth. What's something that you've taken away from her?
She taught me how to slow down and appreciate the aesthetics of a card. So like me, I just kind of look at a card, I take it all in at once, and I'm just done. Either it's cool or it's not. But she will take the time, slow down, break it down, talk about different design elements of it, talk about the photo selection, the player's facial expression, the way that the lines are used, on the design of the card. And that helped me think about cards in a different way. So that's the one that came to mind right away. It's like, yeah, Christina's art breakdown, as Jake says, exactly right.
That's my favorite part of cards too, is I love looking at like the inspiration, especially like when you look at like things like Revolution, where it's all like based off of like actually like science terms, or like some of the old 90s inserts, like the AU ones and stuff. Like those, the elements cards, some of those are like, they're so smart. They're so smart and so well done. And I think people just like, oh yeah, that looks cool, and then they move on. They don't think about like the thought that went into creating that card. That's such a good point, Chris. I really agree with you.
Yeah, we used to have a show called House of Jordans, and like he would talk about the market of Michael Jordan playing years inserts, and then I would pick like one of those cards to give a breakdown, and that's what Jake's talking about, of like what this card is, what's represented here, how your eye follows like his body movement across the card in like to where the ball and the logo is for the card design. And like I would have a ton of people message me after those and be like, I've owned this card for like 20 years, 5 years, and I never noticed that. And it was like really cool that I was able to help collectors appreciate their cards even more that were already in their like possession and their collection.
That's awesome. I had a whole week of, I was reading something, or I was having a conversation with someone about like our sports cards art. And so I ran a poll, and it was like right down the middle. Half the people were like, nope. And the other half were like, yep. And then the people who were like, nope, I would have conversations like, why don't you think this? And we would talk it through. And I think like I probably changed like half of their minds, and they're like, oh, maybe it is art actually. And so that was kind of fun. And I think it's like that's kind of like cool when you have two people that like are so closely like, you know, not even necessarily couples, but like maybe best friends who collect together, and like they have, you look at the same thing but in a vastly different way, and
Yeah.
it means something different to both of you, but you both like it equally, which is I think such a cool like aspect of, you know, collecting with another person.
Oh, for
Agreed.
sure. Yeah.
Totally agree.
So you guys basically said that you do not have a life outside of collecting. so I was like, one of my questions was like, how do you balance like all of your hobby obligations and everything you're doing with any like real life stuff that you have going on? But you guys were like, we don't have anything else going
Yeah,
on.
you know, if you consider like sports fandom something separate, we we watch a lot of sports, and but you know, that's tied into the hobby. And you know, we like to do our little road trips. You know, usually it's almost always related to work, but like we like to stop at different places along the way and, you know, enjoy it. And then, you know, we like to go crazy on Zillow and look at houses. That's definitely something that we do a lot of. What else, Christina?
We like to go to like new cities. That's something that like, especially now that COVID is like not really behind us, but like the world is opening back up. Yeah. Like we like to travel and go check out like new places, rent an Airbnb, and like really get a feel for it instead of just like a hotel vibe from it. But most of the time, like one of our first searches when we go to a new city is like near a sports card shop.
The card shop.
Yeah. And like I love going to new places and going to their card shops and like talking to the owners or the workers and like finding out what their clientele, like what their demographic is, what they collect, like what do they sell quickly, what sits on the shelf in this area, and really like get down to the nitty gritty. And I've been doing that since we started collecting. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
always fun. Yeah.
So what is it like having your job, your life, your relationship, your business, every aspect of your life all wrapped up in one hobby and each other? Like, how do you have like, and I know like it's a dumb question, but do you ever worry that like one day you're gonna be like, I'm so sick of this?
You know, I think that when I had a day job all through Card Ladder until we were acquired last November, and then I quit like literally after I signed, like after we finalized the acquisition, like, and they knew I was gonna like not work full time immediately because I was like, I need to give my 2 weeks notice now. But so I really hated that job, and I thought like there was a moment where I was concerned that if I didn't have some kind of other outlet, that I would get burnt out on cards and the hobby. And I haven't, surprisingly. I used to like wake up and be like, I have to work. And now I wake up and I say I get to go to work, even though like the office is just like down the hall instead of like a different location. And like I think that like, one assumes like people like say like, oh, like don't turn your passion into your job because then it stops being your passion. And I'm not there. Like there are some politics and things and like people like that piss me off, like sure, like any job or whatever. But it's easy to quiet the noise in an industry like ours because there are so many amazing people and so many companies that are doing great things, and there's always like a new way to pivot if you're getting annoyed with like an influencer like pumping up a card that you used to love and you're just like, oh my god, like I don't even want to own this anymore. Like there's so many different avenues that you can collect and be engaged in the hobby that like I think that there's not a burnout there. Like there's just so like the possibilities are endless. So I haven't reached it yet, knock on wood. Like, I won't. I'm still loving every day.
Yeah,
think-
totally.
That resonates with me because in my real life, I deal with like a lot of private equity firms, and everything in my life is EBITDA, EBITDA, EBITDA. And I think, and somebody else might have coined it, but I hear Chris say it quite a bit over the last few years, was escapism. And the hobby I found for us, 4 kids, 3 dogs, the hobby was the one true thing that when I like fully entrenched myself in it, I didn't think about any of the other stuff. And it was truly a place where I found peace, and I could still challenge myself through education, learning about different things, understanding data, having fun, enjoying time with like-minded people. And then the bonus was when you can have a 15-year-old girl, a 13-year-old boy, mom, dad, and the littles all sit together and not piss each other off and get on each other's nerve and have a good time. That's the lottery for a family. So I hope that point never comes for you. I hope that it always just feels like, because we've been up since 4:30 this morning. It's 10 o'clock our time. And after this, we'll be up for another few hours doing something that we love now that all of our responsibilities are handled.
Me and my daughter built a bunk bed for the littles tonight so that they would go to bed and so that we could do card stuff tonight, because we got that box of strangers.
They have slides coming off their beds, man. My parents never gave me that shit. They said just go on your mattress.
Wait, there's a slide off their bunk bed?
Yes. Yeah. It's like a castle
awesome.
bed or something.
It's not even all the way. I have castle stuff that goes around it, and it's got a slide. They're spoiled.
Can we get that, Christina, but for us?
I think we might need to look into this, Hosh. Like, yeah.
Like, I don't have a slide on my bed. What?
Yeah.
It's crazy. So we're coming down to like probably the last little bit of this, and something that's important that I wanted to like sort of like just touch on was what is your advice, to help people like maybe connect their partner more with the hobby and maybe get their partner involved, because that is something that people ask me all the time, like, how do I get you and your husband's so lucky, he's so lucky you collect, you're so wonderful and perfect, and I don't know how I would ever get my wife to collect. No, I'm kidding, they don't say all that. They do ask me though, like, how did your husband
stuff like that? Court, when people say stuff like that, you gotta reply with, now go message Jeremy the same thing, thank you. Like, don't tell me. I know I'm perfect. Like,
I know. Please tell him how perfect.
Go tell him.
We are competitive. So I actually have 2 questions. So that one is, Jeremy and I are competitive. I run TikTok and he runs Twitter, and it's like we see who can get more interactions on our posts, and I kick his ass. Like, I'm crushing him. So he's always like, TikTok's easier. I'm like, is it though? Is it easier? Because I have to like make a whole like production. I can't just like type 140 characters and be done with it. But we joke. So talk a little bit about like your like competition that you guys have with each other in that kind of way, and then we'll finish up with how people can get their partners interested in the hobby.
Yeah, I've got a big problem here. Christina is getting more likes on the same card. I post it, gets a certain amount of likes. She posted it, gets way more. It's a big problem. I've called out people for doing this. I said, look, it's the same card. It's the same exact card. Why do you like it on hers and not on mine?
Maybe her hashtags are better and people are seeing
I deal with the same shit on LinkedIn all the time. There's always like this one post where I'm like, it's apples to apples. Why does this person get 10x?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a big problem that we're working on solving. And my images are better too. If we're just gonna be 1,000,000%.
They are.
Christina
no,
just like in a poorly lit
scanner.
room, just snap, and I spend like an hour.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the problem. Maybe the effort is just like, oh, screw this guy.
Maybe the kids think like the nonchalant, I don't care, the cavalier attitude is where it's at. She's at the back of a Hot Topic. You're in a well-lit room. Maybe you got to go with the alternative one.
Exactly. That's
Kelly Green for the alternative kids.
And, well, look, now when I'm not caring at all, this is why. So what is the topic is
I don't know.
Things that are annoying?
No, like maybe competition. But I don't want to go into what you find annoying about Christina or what she finds annoying about feel like
We
that's a
could
rebel.
be here all night.
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you wanna
I mean,
if
we're
you
turning
want
this
him
into a
to
marathon
talk
pod.
what annoys him about me. Like I think that what it is, Hoj, is that like your perfection is intimidating to people, whereas like me
wish.
showing my fingers in my card post where it's like probably not the best lighting.
Like, here's my card. You can only see my hand.
Also, I've been mocked for taking very poor quality photographs, but I did step my game up. But maybe I shouldn't have stepped my game up, is really what you're saying.
Maybe I don't know.
I should go back to the low res.
I mean,
Why don't
even
we try
negative comments are boosting your algorithm, so you'll get more views that way.
That's right. I should be playing for the negative comments. I'm getting a whole new strategy going here.
I think I'm gonna play up the negative comments as well. I think Courtney just like blew my mind on that. Like, yeah.
No news is bad, or no publicity is bad. I don't know. I'm just saying. But okay, so last 10 minutes, let's talk about how you get your partner involved. Like Jeremy and Chris.
He told you he
were
played for
very
Dan
lucky.
toenails.
They were very lucky that
I look at how significant
others are into cards. Like I was into cards, but like before Jeremy and I were together, so that was cool for him. You ripped that, you saw his PC, you ripped that box, and you were just like hooked. For some people, it's not like that. What would your recommendation be?
Well, the thing that makes Christina great is that she does not have an ego. So like it didn't actually mess with her at all that like, oh, maybe Chris was collecting cards before her, because she just got right in and found her lane and made her own personality and her own persona, and is very content doing that. But like I think for a lot of people, if I have to be convinced to like something, like somebody's trying to sell me on a new band or something, or like a new movie or something, and like somebody convinces me to do it, then I've like lost my sense of ownership over it in my life, right? So like I take the other approach. I think that the best chance you have at somebody that you care about getting interested or taking an interest in the hobby is to like purposefully not try to convince them of it. Don't try to sell them on it. Maybe if you want to be real tricky, maybe like plant little seeds, but never make it so it's like you who owns it and you're bringing them into your world. But instead, let them discover themselves. Let them make it their world. Let them take total ownership over who they are as a collector and how they want to experience the hobby. They have their own identity. It's their thing too. They discovered it for themselves. It's their thing. That's the only hope I think you have.
And I would say tell your wife that there are female collectors out there and that you're talking to them, and you'll see how quick that they get into cards.
Yes.
Because they'll be like, who are you talking to? Like, what's going on?
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Wow.
This is like the jealousy card. That's
Yes.
what you play.
Play that
Make them
jealousy
mad.
card.
I would think like in any healthy relationship, though, I think if you take interest in it can't just be one way. It's got to be a give and take. So if you want them to play with your PC, maybe you go and watch The Bachelorette or whatever that person's into. It might work a little better. I don't know.
That was always my advice, is like, if you want them to be interested in something you're interested in, and you want them to tag along, if you want them to be interested, like what you said, and discover their own path, the first step is getting them, willing to come with you to these card shows and card shops, right? So if you're like, hey, we can go do this thing that you like, and then next weekend there's this show, I'd love for you to join me. I would love for you to come with me. We can spend time together. We'll do stuff we both love to do. And I think it is a lot of like what you were saying, like you can't force someone into it. You can't like badger them and bully them into it. It's like, if you want them to enjoy it and really take part in it with you, then it has to be give and take. And you're right about that. And another, I know you're always right, honey. Another thing, and this is for the people out there listening, not the people who are trying to get their partners to collect, but like in general, and this is something I noticed Jeremy doing a lot at shows. When we are set up at a show and a man and a woman come up to our booth together, we both ask her, like, oh, what do you collect? We don't just assume that she's there tagging along. I always actively engage. I'm like, oh, and sometimes they'll be like, oh, I collect this, or sometimes they'll be like, oh, I'm just here with him, and I'm like, oh, I'm like, you should look at this. While he's looking at that, look at these cool cards, or like, do you like sports? Do you, and then I will like engage with that person, because sometimes it's just like the second somebody's like writes you off and that you aren't even interested, then you don't become interested. And as a hobby, I think if we want more diversity and more women, then when they are there, when they come to these things, act like they belong there and ask them what they're interested in. Don't just ignore them because you're trying to make a deal with their partner.
We need to staff good experiences for these people.
Yeah.
Totally. And on that note, don't make assumptions about these kids either. You might think they're there with their dad or their mom. That kid has more grails in that box than you have in your entire collection. And that's a whole different can of worms that we don't have to get into right now. But these kids, they're running around, they're wheeling and dealing. They've got loads of cash in their pockets, wadded up. You have to be on the lookout for the kids as well.
We felt that firsthand last year at National Trade Night. Some like 13-year-old basically told Courtney she was a biatch and her Zion case of cards weren't shit for him because he has nothing but six-figure cards.
He literally opened my case, went pass, just like that. I was like, oh.
Wasn't even respectful. Where I come from, you get slapped in the mouth for that.
I'm like, are my cards terrible? Like, this little kid just hurt my feelings.
These kids are out of control.
And I did want to make it a point to acknowledge your efforts for the Mint, Christina.
Oh, yeah.
I think as somebody who hasn't been in the hobby as long as others, if it wasn't for you finding your way, that event wouldn't have been what it was. And quite frankly, I think most people would agree that we need more events like that. The hobby needs to take a step forward. It needs to be just a breath of fresh air. And so, by all accounts, well run, well put together. Obviously, a lady did it. So, congratulations to you and all the people that worked with you. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a huge team effort. Like I pass your praise to them. But it is appreciated. It was a lot of work, but it was so much fun to see it come together. And we'll be back.
I would actually thank Chris, because had Chris not bought you the pink ice set, you still might have been searching for it, and then the Mint would have never happened. So
you know what? That's fine. It was all
I don't think she
anyway.
ever completed that set, by the way.
because you killed her dreams.
You crushed her soul.
Why would I complete it when you had already purchased the entire run? Yeah,
So
exactly.
I was right.
It's a dream.
No, I just want to thank Chris, like echo Jeremy, thank Chris and Josh, like for putting up with my stress during those months when like I was also working on Card Ladder, a full-time job, and Mint, and they had to hear me complain about everything.
Just like walking around a ball of misery, but then when you're out in public, you're like,
Yeah.
everything's fine. This is fine. The whole world is burning around me. But
Yeah, no, everything's fine. We're fine. We're good.
And now Chris is coping by lashing out at every 12-year-old that has a half-decent card.
They're big. Yeah, it's a cope, and it's something I'm just raising awareness about. It's these kids, man. Did you know that the Messi Prism Gold PSA 10 it sold for over $500,000? Did you know that was won by a 13-year-old?
I'm not. I can't. Here's the thing.
We're so in this that we didn't even brush our teeth beforehand because we don't want any dentist talk.
We don't. Okay. All right. We're gonna need to go an hour too if we're gonna get going on the dentist. There is a dentist Illuminati that controls this hobby, and they've been leaving breadcrumbs about this. So you can actually go on YouTube. You can look up, dentists and sports cards. They've been making TV commercials about dentists controlling the hobby since the 1990s. So the dentists are a problem. The kids may, they're just, I don't know, do these kids have lawn mowing services? Do they shovel driveways in the winter and just pile up $500,000?
No, their dads are dentists.
Well, I think we're cracking the case.
Connecting some dots tonight, friends.
Yeah. It's not two separate problems. It's a singular, larger problem.
Yes, it all comes back. It's full circle. It comes back to the dentist. You guys have been so great. Did you want to leave us with any final thoughts for the evening?
Fuck them kids.
Yep, that's number one. Don't grow up to become a dentist. That's number two.
You're not a real doctor.
Nope, you're not. You're above a chiropractor, I guess. And then number three is thank you guys, Courtney and Jeremy, for having us on the show. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to see you guys at National.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Thank you so much for having us. This is awesome.
Thank you.
And we appreciate everything you guys do. So it was a lot of fun to be able to be on a night school.
It was great. This is what we're, this is my favorite kind of thing. We're just having a conversation about like real hobby experience, and that's awesome. So thank you so much, and we will see you soon.
Very soon.
See you guys in a week.
Bye.
Bye.